Good morning. This is Maine Prince, Director of Marketing and Business Development, and welcome to the Breakfast and Brew Professional Development Workshop Series by Experts. Today's workshop is on strategic planning for law firms and solo practitioners. This is part one of two workshops. The companion workshop to this is business development for law firms and solo practitioners. President Dwight D. Eisenhower once said, "In preparing for battle, I have always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable." In your perception for your law firm, make sure that you understand that today's presentation is on how to strategize a planning process to help you succeed in the future as much as build upon your past success. It may be a daunting task to do, but it's something that is useful for time and time to come. So why a strategic plan? Formal strategy planning provides a focus and a structure to use to discuss the future of your business with your partners. It creates a plan for growth or continued success and provide management direction for employees or staff. In my view, a strategic plan is a useful to help guide decisions, but it should not be a static document. It is important that any business be adaptable to change to survive. And adherence to plans without regularly updating them to recognize changing realities will not work. So we're going to go some strategic planning models. Today's models we're going to go over are the SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. A gap analysis approach. Porter's 5 forces model. The appreciative inquiry, or the AI approach, and no, I don't mean Allen Iverson. David Maister's fast track strategy model. And continuous decision-oriented planning. These are the models we are going to go over today to help you get a better understanding of how you can think outside the box. Maybe there's some that you're using, or maybe there's some that you'd like to use in the near future. Hopefully, we can help you with a few of those. So, the SWOT analysis. This model looks at the firm's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in an organized and deliberate way. The results of a SWOT analysis can vary. Some firms might decide the best course is to build on their strengths and follow opportunities that play to those strengths. Others might find that answer insufficient for their purposes and devise strategies designed to overcome identified weaknesses to enlarge their opportunities. A list of SWOT questions is available by anyone that sends an email following this presentation. I will give you the email address. You reach out to me, and I will send you kind of a question and answers that you can also use to help you in your planning process. Now, this can be done monthly or quarterly based on your campaign development. Now let's look at an example of a SWOT analysis. So as you see here, what we have are strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. Here, looking at strengths, lawyers with deep technical expertise, good reputation in the state, and you have a strong support system. Again, this is specific to your solo practice or your law firm. You may have obviously 5 to 10 to 20 different strengths about your organization, and that's great. That's what we want you to have. We want you to definitely have more strengths than you do weaknesses. Now, looking at weaknesses over here, big client expanding operations in the region or regulatory changes expected in key areas. Weaknesses are things that are going to diminish the success or the moving forward in your process of securing either new clients or winning your case or having a favorable outcome. But as far as business development and marketing planning, we want you to identify what are the weaknesses for your firm and how we can overcome those we'll discover later on. Some opportunities. There's no clear business development leaders, increasing lawyer dissatisfaction with work hours, poor record on diversity of the workforce. Looking at these opportunities are ways that you can actually overcome things that you may be deficient in. And once you identify what are those opportunities, then we'll turn into another planning process on how to strategize and actually resolve those issues. Then we come to the threats. We're a national law firm expanding to the region. Clients are looking to lower cost. And of course, clients are pressuring for diversity. These are all samples of things that could happen in your law firm. Everyone is different, but the important thing is to identify what is the SWOT analysis for your firm. Look at the gap analysis approach. This approach asks the firm to articulate the difference between where it is as an organization and the initiation of the planning process and where it wants to be in the near future. Now, using this method, the firm will identify a set of firm objectives. And once you identify them, spot the gap between the objectives and the current reality. And when you do that, you're going to need to articulate various options for closing the gap, and then set a course of action that organization determines will effectively align objectives and reality. Now, when you're looking at this approach, one of the key areas that you want to focus on is looking from point A to point B, from point B all the way to Z. Because eventually, each step along the way, you need to figure out where the gap lies. And once you figure out what that gap is, then it's going to be up to you and the planning team to kind of determine how can we close this gap on where we are. What are the steps we need to take? But again, this is only one approach that can be utilized. As we're looking at these different approaches, we want you to focus on which one works best for you. How many of the firm's objectives do you have? Where do you think that you are, and where do you want to be? As much as when you look at your financial modeling, is what your budgeted goals, what your budget is, compared to what your actual dollars are. And again, this is just a gap analysis approach to help you determine what's going to work best for you. Look at Porter's 5 forces model. Now, the 5 forces model looks at the connection between a firm's environment and the industry in which it competes. The 5 forces are the risk of new competitors entering the industry, the threat of potential substitutes, the bargaining power of buyers, the bargaining power of suppliers, and the amount of rivalry between the existing competitors. Now, applied graphically to a law firm, the model may look a little something. As you can see here, we use the 5 forces model, and you can see the areas where these are, and again, in the way these are placed on here, we just wanted to separate and give you kind of an illustration. When you look at what works best for you, you have to say, hey, I think this is a great process for us to try to consider as we determine what's going to work for our firm. So looking at where the potential entrants are here, okay? Here's a quick example. Big law firm just opened up an office in Center City. Now, the new threat of new entrants basically are from our industry competitors. Now, there's obviously a little rivalry among existing firms, especially if you're in the same areas of practice. But as you look at where those threats are, but now you need to figure out what is a great bargaining power for your firm and how you can win those clients to come to you. Now, obviously, we know what the bargaining power for the buyers are, or the clients, because now they have more choices. Okay, they have more choices to come from. But what we can do is look at what are the substitutes. Okay, as an example, clients are hiring in-counsel with more frequency, which could be the case in your area or where you are. And as you look at it, you want to look at where you are as suppliers. It is hard to attract top talent in Center City. And again, this is based on different areas where you may have your law firm. And these are the threat of the substitutes. Now, this outside model here is the bargaining power of suppliers. You see, there's nothing in here because what we want you to do is you'll fill this in and you'll say, okay, this is what our bargaining power is. If they have, as buyers, more choices to choose from, we as a law firm need to attract the top talent so that we also are competitive in our field. That is going to help considerably so that you can focus on getting your firm to the next level. Now, let's talk about the appreciative inquiry, or the AI approach. And again, I don't mean Allen Iverson. So the AI approach is the appreciative model was developed in reaction to perceptions that previous planning models started with a negative problem-solving approach. So rather than a positive approach that appreciates the firm. So the appreciative inquiry uses a 5D model where the firm breaks the planning process into 5 distinct phases. In the first phase, the organization defines the topics to learn more about, such as marketing and recruitment, and refines the issues to be examined. The second stage is the discovery stage, which identifies what the firm is doing and when it performs at its best. The third stage is the dream phase. Now, when the group envisions what the future will look like based on the firm's strengths and core values identified in the previous phase, which segues into the design phase, in which the firm articulates the building blocks for implementing the firm's vision. Now, the last segment is the delivery phase, during which the firm's vision is articulated by the group and is put into action. Now, what does that look like graphically? What it looks like graphically is this. As we look at the first part of our model is the definition. On the definition phase, we identify areas of inquiry. Okay, what can we do to equalize the quality of work and the work experience at our firm? Then, as you understand where you are, now you need to figure out how did we get there and what can we do to move forward, which now it goes into discovery. Now, discovery, you're going to identify the key elements at play when the firm is at its best. So as a quick example, our intellectual property practice is really strong. They do high quality work within deadline and have a wonderful spirit of corps between the law firm associates, their first years, their paralegals, all those that are involved in the IP practice. Now that you have this discovery, now you want to look at your dream. What are you envisioning for the results and what is the impact? For an example, the IP practice has really clear processes and standards. Let's apply that concept to the rest of the firm. Now again, when we're looking at this 5 forces model, it's going to be critical that you use your team and your management staff are on the same page. So, and again, I'm sorry, I didn't mean the 5 forces, I meant the appreciative inquiry. So as you go through your firm's envision of where you are and where you're going and where you want to be, now it's time to get the planning. Now you get to the design. And here you're going to outline the future together. For example, let's ask practice leaders to define areas of standardization and clear processes in their areas. Hopefully once you do that, it'll help move you forward to now delivering on where you want to be. But now you want to sustain the change. As an example, let's check in with practice managers and do attorney surveys by practice area to see how things are actually going. So that there is the appreciative or the AI approach for strategic planning. Now let's go over David Maister's fast track strategy. This one's a little bit more complex, has a lot more components and components to it, but it's definitely something that you all can do. This action-oriented approach dispenses with the time it can take to articulate the goals of a law firm because it is based on theory that all professional service organizations have the same goal: raising the satisfaction of clients, increasing the skills within the organization, improving the productivity of the firm, and 4, getting better business. The aim of the process is for the participants to prepare an action plan for each goal that articulates specific proposed actions, identifies who will be accountable for each of those identified actions, and determines how much time will be spent on each activity. Now, your deadlines and how to determine the action will be complete. Now, this is how this approach would look like. Again, just taking one example to a hypothetical law firm. Now, increase skill building. This is one goal. The action, we want to create an internal attorney training program. Who's going to be responsible for that? Mary. And how many hours is that going to require? 25 hours. When do we want that due date? March 5th of 2015. Now, what is the indicator of completion? Now, again, this is one of the most important things because as you're looking at your budgeting between your planning, your current associates, or who's responsible is hourly wage, how is that value going to make sure you know that you're getting something out of that value? So getting a detailed training schedule for the year. B, survey attorneys on usefulness of the trainings at 6 months. So again, looking at increasing skill building, you can see the other 2 functions here between training paralegals in areas that support the lawyers, increase coaching abilities of partners and senior managers, and of course, looking at how to actually know what the indicator of completion is. So again, as you're looking at deciding on if this model is going to be best for you, again, this David Maister's fast track strategy, you will try to determine each one of the areas and that you are looking to specifically improve upon. That's what this model is used for. Now let's move on. Our last model is about continuous decision making or oriented planning. Now, this approach discussed earlier attempts to respond to criticism that traditional strategic planning does not produce high quality organization because plans can get stale quickly, stifle creativity and entrepreneurialism. So sometimes it ignores the elements and facts that the business environment is constantly changing. So instead of tackling the firm's challenges and opportunities in one big plan, now the firm will look at small bites and make a decision in smaller increments rather than one unified strategy. Now, under this model, issues are identified in the beginning of the year, and identified teams research and prepare analysis of the options, which are then acted upon by the leadership on a regular basis. Now, let's look at what one of those strategic planning models will look like for continuous decision-oriented planning. As you'll see here in Q3, quarter 3, we are looking at this is our annual strategy update here. Okay? So we look at our annual strategy update. Now we want to start preparing for the upcoming year. Because in that third 3 months, August, September, July, August, September, now we're starting to get ready as we're into the fall, getting ready for the winter, but we're planning for the first quarter into the new year. So that's where your task force team has to start the actual preparation and pre-planning process. And once you know what your issues are, now you'll be able to address what those issues are and how to resolve those via your managing partner, your executive committee. Now they'll make a decision about those issues as you get ready to close that gap and move in to the next issues in quarter 2 that you may have had from the previous year. Now, again, we're looking at a total plan here, which includes your budgets, capital plans, and operating plans, and it's updated continuously because as things change, you want to make sure that you're adapting to that actual change. Just as you see here as a quick example, issues 3 and 4. Issue 3, increase the capacity of the task department. Issue 4, increase diversity of the workforce. Now, once you identify those issues and you have the team prepare your presentation on how to resolve them, then you move on to the next 2 issues, which is going to be in Q2 to get ready for Q3, and so on and so forth, down to you get ready for issues completed in 9 and 10. But remember, as you're preparing for issues 7 to 10, you're now getting back into the annual strategy update. So depending on when you actually do those, that's going to be critical and important. So definitely, hopefully some of this gives you some insight on how to build your strategy. Now again, who should participate in some of this? Obviously the partners of your firm, because the owners of the business should obviously participate to the greatest extent possible so that something meaningful and lasting comes out of this process. In this case, the partners each answered the attached worksheet. They met with the consultant to talk about the answers and implications and which aspects to seek further views from others at the firm. We also looked at our organizational arrangement and made revisions to our management structure. Who else should participate? Attorneys, paralegals, other staff. These are all critical people to make sure that your firm is moving forward in the future and you have a clear pattern on how to get there. Now, it's helping you to get there to that next step. Here are some strategic planning websites that you can use. Earlier we talked about David Maister. You can go to davidmaister.com. There's hildebrand.com. That's HILDEBRANDT. And you look at altmanweil.com, ALTMANWEIL. Joel LaRose, JOELAROSE, as well as lawyerswithalife.com. Also, Abinet has some great insight on strategic planning as well. Abinet is ABANTNET.org, LPM /home.SHTML, as well as Lawyers Life Coach. I know I have Lawyers with a Life in there twice, but Lawyers Life Coach. Hopefully, these models you will look at, you can review this webinar, go back to it, and it'll help you in the near future. Because I can tell you that are also in business, Michael Jordan once said, "No one plans to fail, they only fail to plan." And Michael Jordan, as you know, is one of the greatest NBA basketball players of all time. He also talked about him failing in his basketball games. Shots that he's missed, shots that he's made. He's missed a lot more than most people think, but he's made 4 to 5 times as many as well. Now again, if this strategic planning webinar helped you out somewhat, I definitely appreciate your comments. Please follow us on Facebook or our Twitter page. You can definitely go to experts-by-experts.com, as well as our Twitter page. It's at experts-by-expert. And also our Facebook page, if you just type in Experts by Experts, your expert company, you'll come to our Facebook page as well. And we're also on LinkedIn at Experts by Experts. Again, my name is Maine Prince. I am the Director of Marketing and Business Development. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call. You can reach me at 267-940-7782. And if you are interested in getting the SWOT analysis questions, please send me an email to mprince@experts-by-experts.com, or you can reach me at maine@princemanagementgroup.net. It's maine@princemanagementgroup.net. Either one of those emails will directly reach me, and hopefully I hear from you. Please, by all means, share this webinar with your colleagues, with your partners, with the owners, referrals, associates that you may know of, you may have. Hopefully this can help them out as much as it can help you. And definitely, I look forward to having you all for an in-person webinar as much as on their online webinars. Thank you again, and enjoy your day. In conclusion, decide which model best suits you and your firm. Your business plan is your blueprint, not a permanent tattoo. And consider implementing a few models per quarter. And of course, when you need help, ask. Don't just go at this road alone. There's certain things you can do, certain things you may want to do, but to take away from your firm's practice, consider the value on what you're getting when it draws you away. And helping you put together a task force, obviously we can help you through that so that you're not running through quicksand. So if you contact us today, we can help you with to start that planning process. So thank you once again. I appreciate your time. Appreciate the opportunity for you to listen to me. I look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care.